What's happening, guys? I'm from TechSource, and today is another exciting day here at the TechSource headquarters because today I'm building a setup from scratch. It has been a fat minute since I've done any setup videos on the channel. If you guys remember, the last one I did was back in October of 2019, which was a minimalistic gaming setup. So make sure to check that out, by the way, in case you missed it. So what setup are we building today, you might ask? Well, if you read the title, then you probably already know. So the idea behind this video originally came from LG when they sent over their new LG Gram laptop and sponsored this video. They asked me if I could build a setup using their new laptop. And at first I was a bit hesitant because I thought to myself, I don't think a laptop setup would be interesting for you guys. So I thought of a better idea. Not only will I be building a setup using a laptop, but I'll be building a gaming setup as well. So this is going to be a hybrid setup for a laptop and PC gaming, featuring my new sexy minimalistic PC I built on the channel. If you guys missed this video, definitely check it out. I'll drop a link to it below, but I had so much fun building this thing. Before we begin, I want to give a huge thanks to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring today's video. You know, in the sea of online content, there's a lot of websites out there that can actually take your personal info without you even knowing it. But guess what? You can swim under the radar using Surfshark VPN. You can stop websites from tracking your info and selling targeted ads to you. Plus, with Surfshark's HackLock ID protection, you'll get an alert when some noob tries to break into your email. But I gotta say, one of my favorite features of Surfshark is that you can see content that is not available in your area. Guys, I'm obsessed with the show Family Guy, but for some reason not clear to mankind, it's not available in the US. So what do? I log into Surfshark, change my location to any of the following supported countries, and boom, I now have access to Family Guy. So if you want both protection and freedom online while helping support the channel, make sure to click the link down below and use the code TechSource. Not only do you get 85% off the regular price, but you also get 3 months of free service. Also, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk to try it out. You can't have all work without play, right? You gotta have a nice balance between the two. So I did what any normal person would do under quarantine, and I went on Amazon and ordered a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna build this setup from start to finish. And honestly, I have no idea how it's gonna turn out at the end. I do have a vision in my mind, but as you guys have seen in the past, it could look like hot garbage, or it could look really good. It could go either way at this point. So I didn't purchase anything too expensive. I did my best to kind of keep the budget as reasonable as possible to kind of fit the theme. And in case you guys haven't noticed, the theme is gonna be mostly black with some orange accents to kind of give it a little bit of life. But anywhoosies, I'm done rambling. Let's start putting together the desk. So the desk we're going with is the popular Linman tabletop. During this quarantine, a lot of stuff on IKEA was actually sold out. So this is pretty much the only desk that I could get shipped to me here in California. We're gonna do some modding to the desk, however, because obviously the white is gonna go against the black theme we're going with. Nice. The length is gonna be perfect. I think this is actually the 60 inch. So 60 inch wide and 30 inch for the depth. So the cool thing about these legs is that you can actually adjust it to whatever height you want, and they extend quite a bit. And there's even markings on here, so you can align all 4 legs equally. All right, step 1 complete. I think I made this too tall. Oh my God. I made this into a standing desk, God damn it. This would technically work too, but I'm a little too tall for this, and this is the max height that I can put this desk on. So unfortunately, we have to lower it down a little bit. All right, so I got this awesome looking glossy black wood vinyl from Amazon, and we're gonna be skinning the entire table to obviously match the color scheme. But before we do that, I want to know where all the peripherals are gonna go, because we're gonna be drilling some holes in there obviously for cable management and stuff. So I went ahead and put majority of the parts that we're gonna be using in the setup in the correct spots to kind of get a visual idea of where everything goes. That way I can map out the blueprints of the setup. A quick tip I can give you guys if you're trying to improve your setup is focus on these two things, spacing and symmetry. Believe it or not, these two things can really improve the overall aesthetics of your setup. I'm gonna show you guys a quick example. Okay, so we got the gaming monitor in the center, and we'll be using this as the measuring point, if you will. Next to that, we got, let's say, a fake IKEA plant for decoration, and then on the opposite side, we got the wireless charger. So as you guys can see, it's kind of balanced. We got something on this side, and then we got something on this side. And then as we move further outside, we got the gaming PC on one, and on the opposite side, we got the natural salt lamp. Technically, it's not symmetrical because it's not the exact same object on both sides, but you guys get the idea. We're balancing something with another object on the opposite side. Another thing to keep in mind is spacing. Make sure all the objects on your setup have the equal amount of spacing. This is what I mean by that. Let's say I have the fake IKEA plant really close to the PC on one side, and then we have the charging dock further away from the object on the far left. As you guys can see, the spacing between the objects are noticeable, and it will affect the aesthetics of your setup. So try and do your best to keep the spacing even between all your objects. It'll make a difference. So this is the wireless sheet charger we're gonna be using. So I'm gonna put this over here and then drill a hole, let's say in the back over here. So anywhere in this area. All right, so I picked up this cable grommet from Amazon. So what I'm gonna do is drill a hole that's pretty much the same size so I can cover up with this cable grommet. So I got my drill bit hooked up to I'm just gonna call it a hole cutter. I have no idea what the name is. Oh, look at that hole. One thing I love about IKEA desks is how easy it is to drill holes in, because most of it's made out of just plywood. So here's my cable grommet. Perfect fit, look at that. I'm gonna run our cable through, lock this in place. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do proper cable management for a charging dock. So the next thing you do is drill a hole that's gonna be wide enough to pass through the entire cable. A common mistake that I've seen a lot of people do is that they only measure the hole to be wide enough for the USB, but they completely disregard this portion over here. In some peripherals, I've actually seen this portion, I don't know what this is exactly, but it's a lot wider than the USB. So when they try and pass through the cable, it doesn't fit because they completely forgot about this portion of the cable. So make sure you guys are measuring the widest part of the cable. In this case, it is the USB, so that is how wide we gotta make our hole. So here's 1 inch. 1 inch is definitely too wide. Let's see for 3/4. 3/4 is perfect. We don't need to drill a hole that's wider than we need to. So, try and keep it as accurate as possible. So 3/4 is gonna be perfect for this. Also guys, do not drill a hole in your mouse pad. The hole is for your desk. What I'm gonna do here is actually just a slit wide enough to pass through the cable. So I'm gonna be using a box cutter. Just gonna slit a hole wide enough to pass through the cable. See, this is way more noticeable compared to drilling a massive hole in it. There you go. See how easy that was? All right, so since the cable is gonna go through here, we can actually mark it through the mouse pad. There it is. So now it's time to drill a hole. You guys can use a filer or sandpaper to kind of smoothen the edges if you want. That is up to you, but I'm gonna go ahead and skip that step. Here's my USB cable. I'm gonna pass it through the mouse pad into the hole. Plug it into the keyboard. Bring it as close as possible to the slit. And there you go. Nobody suspects a thing. Now I want to do something to spice up the keyboard a little bit because right now it's kind of just blending in with the mouse pad. I want it to pop a little bit. And we do have some orange accents around the setup, so I thought we can switch up some keycaps. So I went on this website called Banggood. I'm guessing Good Bang was taken. And I picked up some keycaps from a company called Fecker. I don't know what's the deal with these brand names, but you know, I don't make the rules here. So we got some pretty sweet keycaps that are compatible with the AM Pro 2. As you can see, we got some orange ones on here, some white, and I think gunmetal gray with orange text on here. So I think it's gonna look pretty sick once we swap these out. So now that we have all the holes drilled in the desk and we pretty much know where everything goes, it's time to skin the desk. Now I could leave the desk alone and not skin it because personally I think white looks pretty clean and it actually works with this setup because of the keycaps and stuff. But I'm gonna skin it anyways just for the sake of trying something different. You know, I did purchase this anyways from Amazon, so why not give it a shot? After all, we are trying different things and it might even look even better than the white. So next thing we're gonna do is mount the monitor to the desk. This is the monitor I did a review on actually a month ago, I think. It's a 27-inch gaming monitor from LG. 240 Hz refresh rate, 1 millisecond response time on an IPS panel. A beast of a monitor, and it's gonna be perfect for not only productivity, but gaming as well. All right, this actually goes really well with the theme. Well, this actually moves pretty fluidly. Nice. So this is the mount we're gonna be using for the laptop. It's from Flexi Mounts, and this works with up to, I think, 17-inch laptops. So it's perfect for the LG Gram. Let me know how you guys are enjoying the series so far by dropping a like or a dislike at this point. And if you guys want to see more types of videos, I guess let me know in the comment section because I really enjoy building setups from scratch. The only issue with it is it takes a long time, as you guys probably imagine. One thing I like about this mount compared to the other one is that they actually give you anti-rubber slip mats to cover the clamp area. That way it doesn't scratch or damage your desk. So I'm gonna cover this portion over here. This is also gonna prevent the mount from moving around or slipping around. Oh, this one just kind of goes over the clamp like this. So we're gonna mount this on the side of the desk. I'm not exactly sure where just yet. I might even actually end up putting it in the back here. But I feel like the arm is too far, so it's gonna go on the side for sure. So there are two ways you can mount this on the arm. The first way is vertical. So let's say if you have a tablet or an iPad, you can mount it this way to kind of use it as a secondary display, or you can mount it 45-degree angle, which is what we're gonna be doing because we are obviously gonna be using this with a laptop. And then we can use the mount to kind of adjust the angle. It's time for the Himalayan salt lamp. As you guys know, this is an anti-RGB setup, so I thought we could include a little bit of lighting. So there's one major thing that this setup is missing. Can you guys guess what that is? It's got no storage space. Obviously, we're going with a minimalistic setup, but it's also nice to have some storage space so we can store miscellaneous items or accessories to keep the surface of the desk very clean. That is where this comes in. I picked up a pencil drawer from Amazon, and we're gonna install this on the bottom of the desk. All right, the holes are marked. Now it's time. Just like that, we're done. So guys, here is what our setup looks like so far. I am loving how it's turning out, but no setup is complete without, you guessed it,
cable management,
which I think is one of the most important parts of any setup. Now, obviously, you can have an awesome looking setup with flashy RGB lighting, high-end PCs, and high-end gear, but if you have, you can have an awesome, you can have an awesome looking setup with flashy RGB lighting and high-end gear, but if you have cables hanging out everywhere like mom's spaghetti, then obviously it's gonna affect the look of your setup. So I'm gonna give you guys some tips on how to improve your cable management by kind of going through my thought process of cable managing this setup. If you guys want some more info on cable management as well, I did a video on it actually, I think over 4 or 5 years ago, which is still relevant today. I'll drop a link to that on the top right corner, so make sure to check that out as well. But anyways, the first step is obviously to plug in all your cables. So that way we can have an idea of where everything is coming out of. So we're gonna start off with the PC and then work our way to the monitor. I'm gonna be hooking up the HDMI for the laptop, and then we're going DisplayPort for the PC. That way we can take advantage of the 240 Hertz refresh rate of the monitor. And then here's our HDMI coming from the monitor to the laptop. So the next step is to figure out the main source of hiding your cables. Are you going to install a rack underneath the table and just dump your cables on that? Are you gonna use a cable box to hide your power strip? Or are you gonna mount everything under the bottom of your desk? So that is step one. So for this type of setup, we're gonna be using a single power strip, and we're gonna plug everything inside here and mount it on the bottom of our desk. So the way we're gonna route the cables is by using a channel raceway. And the reason why I like these separate ones instead of the one long one is that we can separate them. So we can put them anywhere we want, giving us way more flexibility. So the first thing we gotta do is kind of see where we can mount the power strip. Make sure it's in a location where everything can plug in from your setup. So this is for the PC. Here's the power for the monitor. And of course, you got the salt lamp. As long as it's in a location where all the plugs can reach it, then you're pretty much good to go. But what I like to do is kind of position it closer to one of the corners. And I'm gonna use this leg and route the power strip cable right behind it. So before we attach the power strip on the bottom of the desk, we gotta attach some 3M tape. This is actually a very common mistake that I've seen a lot of people doing, is that they don't use strong enough double-sided tape to hold their power strip. Depending on how heavy your power strip is, you'll need to use the appropriate 3M tape. So for this one, I'm using VHB by 3M. This is actually one of the strongest adhesive tapes you can find online. Make sure you guys are using this if you're attaching power bricks, power strips, or anything that's heavy underneath your desk. So for this one, we're gonna need about 3. Put one in the center, and we're gonna put the last one on the bottom here. Just make sure you guys are spacing it evenly. Right over here is good, I would say. Apply some pressure, make sure it sticks on there real good. And for the time being, we can plug the stuff in the power strip. All right, the next thing I like to do is kind of manage some of the cables that are hanging down like this, because we can't have things sagging, right? It just doesn't look good. So this is actually the keyboard cable that's being plugged into the back of the PC. So we're gonna use some of these cable clips, and we're gonna attach one to the cable and just stick it somewhere up here. What I like to do is keep a straight path because it is the most aesthetically pleasing. You don't wanna go across or diagonal. You wanna keep the cables as straight and parallel as possible with the rest of the stuff underneath the desk. So here's one. Maybe over here is good. See how we have a straight path coming from the hole straight to the back. So the next thing we're gonna do is install these channel raceways. This is gonna help us route our cables much cleaner. They're called channel raceways because we're obviously channeling the cables through here. So typically they come with only one double-sided tape, but I like to add another layer. So depending on the length of your desk, you might have to use a few of these, but because we were using a somewhat normal sized desk, I think 2 is enough for this. So before you stick this on the bottom of your desk, run the cable through the raceway and just kind of figure out where you want to place this. That way it makes more sense to you. Over here is good. Again, make sure that everything is parallel. And we're basically doing the same thing for the second one. So here's the other raceway. Make sure it aligns with the other raceway. All right, so now we still have our keyboard cable, right? We're obviously gonna try and hide this. So what we're gonna do is run this through the raceway as well. We do have this one cable in the middle, which is kind of loose. And instead of putting another raceway on there, which I think is unnecessary, we can just use another cable clip to keep it from sagging. Right there is good. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is the remote for the lamp. Obviously, I still wanna be able to control the brightness. So what I'm gonna do is attach double-sided tape on the bottom of this. And then stick this as close as I can to the front of the desk, like right over here. That's as far as the cable can go. So I'm gonna hook this up right over here. It's still gonna be within reach, and I can use it to adjust the brightness. And for this part, we're just gonna use another cable clip to kind of tighten up a bit. Put one right there, and then we'll put one right over here. And here's the monitor cable. We're gonna route this also through the raceway and into the power strip. Again, guys, any excess cables, you can use cable clips to kind of prevent it from hanging, or you can hide them back inside the channel raceway. Doesn't really matter. All right, now let's manage the cable sticking out from the PC. So we're gonna be using these thick boy cable clips instead. And then we're gonna hook it up to the side of the desk like that. And then for this corner part, I'm just gonna Velcro the cables together. All right, and finally for the DisplayPort cable, we're gonna actually run this from the back of the desk. So here's our final cable clip. I'm gonna route this around like this. And obviously to keep the cable from moving around, we're just gonna tie it with a Velcro strap. So we have one final cable, you guys, the HDMI for the laptop. And this is actually the most trickiest one because we do have the laptop moving around. So we can't keep it too short, otherwise it will kink. And we can't keep it too long, otherwise there's gonna be a lot of cable slack. So you gotta find the sweet spot. You got the perfect amount of slack to move the laptop around. So one of the reasons why I wanted to mount the power strip closer to the edge of the desk is so we can hide the cable behind the legs, and then we can use a Velcro strap. I just noticed if these legs were black, it would have blended in with the Velcro straps a lot better, but oh well, not a big deal. So here's what the cables look like before, and here's what the cable management looks like after everything's done. So yeah, definitely a huge improvement. So ladies and gentlemen, here is what the final setup looks like. It took me 4 days to put all this together, and I absolutely love the way it turned out. If I were to build a hybrid setup for laptop and PC gaming, this is how I would have done it. Starting off with the star of the show, the MVP, my super compact minimalistic gaming PC recently built on the channel using the Motif Monument open air chassis. If you guys missed the video, definitely check it out. It was an interesting one to watch. I'll leave a link below, or you can click on the top right. I threw in the Ryzen 7 3800X 8-core 16-thread processor in here with 16 gigs of RAM and an RTX 2060 graphics card. Taking advantage of all that sweet FPS is the LG gaming monitor. It sports a 27-inch 1080p IPS display with a 240Hz refresh rate and a 1 millisecond response time. And since it is an IPS panel, it's got great viewing angles and color accuracy, which is great for any color-sensitive work that I might be doing on either the PC or the laptop. I do have this hooked up to my LG Gram, and I use it as a secondary display as well. For peripherals, I'm using the AnPro 2 60% mechanical keyboard with custom PBT keycaps from Fecker. I wanted to add a bit of color, but not go overboard at the same time. And since there are subtle orange accents throughout the setup, I thought these keycaps would fit beautifully in the color scheme I was going for. For mice, I wanted to give myself options. I have the MX Master 3 for productivity and the Logitech G Nano 3 for gaming. The Hyper Scroll wheel is an absolute must for me for scrolling through long pages quickly, and the side scroll is super convenient while I'm editing videos. But the mice doesn't do so well for gaming since it's a lot heavier and there is noticeable latency, which is why I use the G603 instead for gaming. I did go with a wireless option to minimize cable clutter, but also it's really comfortable to use. I honestly can't tell the difference between a wired gaming mouse and this. That's how responsive the G603 is in games. Now, since the setup doesn't have any storage space, I did install a pencil drawer underneath it to help store some of my things that I use on the daily. For example, I keep my other mouse in here if I'm not using it, along with a USB drive and other miscellaneous items. I also keep my WD Black portable SSD in here. The portable form factor is perfect for travel since I can take it with me when I'm on the go, and I use this often to transfer files between my laptop and the PC. Also, it saves me lots of space on my PC because I have all of my games installed on here. I have a USB-C cable running underneath the desk that's plugged straight into the PC, so all I have to do is plug it in and launch the games straight from the SSD. I actually have my editing program installed on here as well, so I run the program through the SSD while I'm using the LG Gram. This way it runs much faster and I don't use up any extra storage from the laptop. Also, I did buy a wireless charger for my iPhone because obviously I like having my phone fully charged all the time, and this actually doubles as a stand, which is great since I can easily glance over at the notifications without having to pick up my phone. I'm sure you guys have noticed at this point that I have only one audio source. Now, the main reason was because I didn't want to add any extra gear that I don't see myself using often. These Amazon speakers are perfect, and they are all I need for listening to music, watching videos, and even gaming. They are tiny, but mighty, something my wife often tells me at night. They pack a nice punch, and they get pretty loud too. I'm actually surprised with the quality of these given the price tag. And finally, for aesthetics, I did add a fake IKEA plant to give it some color and a Himalayan salt lamp for that ambient lighting. And I really think it brings the entire setup together. I have the remote mounted underneath the desk so I can control the brightness or shut it off completely if I want. It's also said that having a Himalayan salt lamp can provide some health benefits, but I'm not really sure if any of that is true. Either way, it looks nice in the setup. So everything in the setup has synergy and works really well together. I can easily transition between using the laptop and the PC. The keyboard has a Bluetooth option, which is hooked up to the laptop by default. So all I have to do is switch it on from underneath the keyboard and it automatically connects to it. Same with the MX Master 3 mouse. I just changed the connection on the bottom and I'm already connected to the laptop. The only other thing I would need to do is change the display output from the monitor to HDMI to switch over to the laptop. I really wanted to buy an HDMI switcher, that way I can just press a button and then switch between the laptop and the monitor, but unfortunately there's nothing out there that supports high refresh rate monitors. I think the highest one was 60 Hz. So it would have capped my monitor and it would have severely bottlenecked my awesome gaming PC. So if I'm using the LG monitor as the main display, I like switching over to the LG Gram and using that as a secondary display. For example, if I'm editing a video on the PC, I like to glance over to the LG Gram and look up things without having to Alt-Tab. The laptop mount I have installed is really flexible, so I can pretty much position it any way I like for convenience. I wish the stand was a bit sturdy as it does wobble quite a bit while typing, but like I said, I mostly use it as a secondary display. Now, if I'm using the LG Gram as the main PC, I place it in front of me and plug in a second HDMI cable, which I have attached underneath the desk for convenience. This allows me to work straight from the laptop and use the LG monitor as a secondary display. One of the things I love about the LG Gram is how light it is, making it the perfect laptop to travel with, not to mention the all-day battery life I get with it. So yeah, this is pretty much my minimalistic hybrid setup that I put together in 4 days. But you know what, guys? It's time for you to rate my setup. You know, I judge setups every Monday on Setup Wars, so I think it's only fair that you guys judge mine. Let me know in the comment section if there's anything you didn't like about it, or if there's something that you would change and do something differently. Whatever it is, let me know your feedback in the comment section. And finally, please give me a rating out of 10. Be as honest as possible. Should be interesting. And of course, all the gear used for the setup will be linked down below if any of you want to check that out. But if you guys enjoy these setup type videos, let me know by leaving a simple like and maybe comment below on what setup I should build for the next episode. I love your beautiful faces. As always, I will see you very soon in the next one.